Sun is shining on another picture-perfect afternoon for thoroughbred racing here at Gulfstream Park, and we gear up. It is a big weekend, in fact, the biggest on the South Florida racing calendar as we get that view from the Nicoletti blimp. That is the Ronnie Cam there. He did a good job flying it yesterday, and we gazed down on the third largest statue, in fact, in the United States. Again, third only behind the Statue of Liberty and the Birth of the New World, which is in Puerto Rico. But the weather great, the forecast great, and our moods are pretty high here at the old GP by the Sea. Jason Blewett, Acacia Courtney alongside. Day out, Acacia. It's Pegasus Eve.
Yes, it is. You can feel the buzz getting the track ready for the limited number of fans. Will be welcome back here. We are really excited to have the small crowd with protocols in place, of course, but really excited to welcome you back to Gulfstream Park for a tremendous day of racing. 12 race car tomorrow. The first post is 11:40 a.m.
Indeed it is. We've got the 7 graded stakes, and there's no real hyperbole. It's all legitimately solid. It's a blockbuster day of racing, and we're pretty pumped up. We are also excited about today's 10-race card, and again, a perfect day just in terms of the hand we're dealt with regarding Mother Nature. And with that in mind, I'm going out with the fight here. I am not laying down in today's Beat the Expert contest. My selections up on the website. We'll obviously have them for you over the next 40 minutes or so on the broadcast today. And my final round occasion, the Beat the Expert. So my advice is sign up and let's have a good time.
It's free to play. It's always a lot of fun. Wishing you the best of luck. Head on over to the website, and if you pick more winners than Jason, you could have a chance to win a cool Gulfstream Park polo.
That's right. I might have to take one of those for the road, actually.
Little souvenir?
Yeah, a little souvenir. It's been a great 4 years.
As long as Ron Nicoletti signs it.
Yeah, I got to get his autograph for sure. Maybe a few 8x10s with his headshot or something like that. But it's been fun working with the two of you, Pete, Ronnie, and the whole crew here at Gulfstream, and looking to go out on a big swing. As we gaze ahead, Acacia, Rainbow Six situation. Of course, it was hit here on late Wednesday afternoon, in fact, for about $640,000. We've got the guarantee. It is up to 2 bills this afternoon.
It's continuing to build. It's a 20-cent base wager, starts in race number 5 today. We hope that you'll take part, pat the bankroll a little bit for those sequences tomorrow. We have some big guarantees as well in the late pick 5, late pick 4 tomorrow on Saturday, $750,000. And don't forget, Jason, advanced wagering available today for Pegasus card.
It certainly is, and there's a lot to just digest and pull apart with those Pegasus races and the dozen races on that January 23rd program. The same, of course, applies to the early pick 5 on this Friday afternoon. An opening leg, in fact, where Pugin may not be as short as 4 to 5, but he's going to be a pretty big chalk from out there. I'm curious, did you single? Did you use him? And what's going on?
Yeah, he's the short price right now. I did use him. I actually am 3 deep, though, as I realize he is taking the drop in class, but he does have an outside post to deal with, and he has already had 8 starts. So I backed myself up with a couple of others, but he is the one to beat. I'm 3 deep in race number 2 as well. What is Sky Snow going to do switching to the main track? I do think that the number 7 Antigone for Juan Avila will run well in here. 2 deep in the 3rd, first-time starter Island Vibe could have found the right spot for Ron Spatz. In the 4th race, I've got 2 horses as well with the Rain Man and Harper Go Lucky, and I like a bit of a price in Real Doozy to the inside for Dave Fox, hoping to wire the field, though the 2 Passion Plus, 2 new claims in there, I think look logical in that spot.
Definitely, and Passion Plus going out for Safi Joseph Jr. drew pretty well, but I think you might be onto something with that Dave Fox claim, who's down inside with the Misael Jaramillo. That is a dangerous filly, I think, because of her speed, and Acacia's Plague topping off there and capping at $36. Getting back to Pugin, though, you've got stall 11 here, 1 scratch towards the inside. We do go with the maxed out field of 12, by the way, as the 14 horse. God bless you. Are you allergic to Pugin here from that outside post?
I'm okay.
You're all right? Want to take a break?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Let's get to the replay. Let's get to the replay here. We've got Pugin off a neck loss last time out against Rolito. This is a horse I wanted to emphasize pulling the race above the quarter pole, how well Lionel Reyes rode this gelding by Palace Malice. Lime green cap. You saw him basically pocketed up behind a 3-way pace battle. He angles out. He just cannot match strides with Rolito, who was taking a dip in class and was the 8-5 favorite, as you see. No issue at all with Puget, other than the fact he's going to be a massive favorite because he is such an obvious measuring stick. And I took a small sliver against him, or small stab against him, and evidently you did as well with the number 7 Young Flint. And I'm assuming, Acacia, you're basically speculating the way I am that this horse had the one race at Gulfstream over the summer, didn't break alertly, and just was never involved. And I'm almost treating him, because I don't care about that GPW turf course. That is at times, has been a fickle turf course. A lot of horses just don't particularly care for. I'm almost treating him in a way like a second-time starter on the turf in this race.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. If you just kind of isolate the turf form, it's a pretty significant drop in class as well. And while Honorable did win his last 2, we saw him get beat yesterday. Tougher competition than he's going to face today for sure, and then just never involved in that debut in Tough Maiden Special Weight company. So I think back to the turf, Flint sure hasn't lit the world on fire as far as a sire, but I would assume you'd be a fair guess to think his progeny would prefer the grass, which is where Young Flint does go back to today. So Lonhro influence on the bottom side, definitely I think a turf influence. Puget is the one to beat, but 3 second-place finishes, and with Irad Ortiz aboard, he's going to be overbet and just not offer any value.
All right, let's move on to the second here. That big early scratch, and there were very few changes on today's card in scratches, and of course we'll catch up with Pete in about 30 minutes' time, but you can scratch the 2, Money Never Sleeps, and with her out, we go with a cast of 6, and you and I both liking, in fact, the 7s to start the card today. 7-7 double for both of us. With Antigone, who got it done last time on a dip down to 12-5 for Safi. Claimed by a good barn that wastes no time and doesn't, again, reinvent the wheel. They've got her right back in about 3.5 weeks later for that 12-5.
It just seems like keeping the status quo with her. Edgar Zayas stays aboard. She was the heavy favorite last time, and she did deliver. She won like a short price favorite should in that spot, and I think keeping with the main track and this level just makes a lot of sense. Beyond her, I thought the 5 Cents a Million could be a little bit interesting, stretching out in distance. I think that getting the mile in here is going to be the biggest question for her, but she should be on the engine early, and she has actually shown speed going a distance on the turf. So clearly in the past, Connections have felt she could handle going a little bit longer than the sprint she has been running in, but just felt like she would be part of that pace early on.
Yeah, we'll see if she can go the distance, but her speed unequivocally is weaponized in this race in a short, compact field. That's going to be her best chance. The one Sky Snow down inside for trainer Brad Cox takes a pretty bearish type dip down to 12-5 this afternoon. Obviously a day out from Brad Acacia shooting for his first ever Pegasus win in the dirt race.
And he's got a big day on tap. Cinnabunny in the inside information as well. And of course the morning line favorite in the Pegasus with Nick Sko, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner. So got a chance to see him paddock school yesterday. Looks good coming into the race. It should be very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the third. We stay on the main track. We've got some older filly and mare 12-5 maiden claimers in this one. Don't have a ton to say other than I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that for 12-5 on the main, the 7 Twirling Dervish, kind of a neat name here for Rusty Arnold, may have just, despite not running well in her 3 races today, maybe this is the spot she just simply is at home and is happy running in this afternoon.
Yeah, and I think it's a good spot for her with the drop in class because she really didn't get out of the gate well in her first 2 starts. They added blinkers last time, but that was on the turf, and I just don't think that she's a turf horse. So I'm hoping the first time on the dirt with blinkers on, she'll be able to get out of the gate a little bit easier and maybe get some position early on. I felt like it could be a race that was just live for a firster. And the 2 Island Vibe, Ron Spatz is very sharp getting these first-time starters ready to roll. Right at first asking, particularly in maiden claiming company. The mare was best going long on the dirt, but she's been a good producer as of yet with 4 out of 6 foals winning.
And Miguel's, I mean, he is this barn's first-rank rider. When Ron has a young horse, first-time starter, that is live. Miguel, more often than not, is going to be the man piloting, and you've got the speedy or perhaps the speedy Island Vibe this afternoon in that third race. We move on. We stay on the main. We're out to 7 furlongs in Friday's 4th before we take a quick time out on the broadcast. A 2 lifetime 6250 claimer, and I'm with trainer George George Weaver here. I think ultimately this is a pretty good spot for a horse like the number 4, I Got a Secret, who's going to run pretty well.
He was actually a scratch. I Got a Secret. So bumped up all the picks here.
I missed that. I'm going, where's my 4? Did I send in the wrong picks?
No,
I missed that.
I Got a Secret, a later scratch for George Weaver. So he'll be out. The Rain Man, I assume one you scratched into. I had liked this one all along. I thought now second time here at Gulfstream should run even better today.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because, again, when I drew up the race, I thought this was just a great spot, really a picture-perfect spot for I Got a Secret. But just in terms of the 7, the Rain Man, I mean, clearly this is an easier race where you lost a horse who was going to be favored in this spot. So an easier race all around for the Rain Man and company. But just what about a horse like him in general who's just second out this meet, having had that race over the track?
I like that angle. I like that he keeps Irad Ortiz aboard, who did ride him last time, and he ran pretty well overall on the speed figure. The race came up pretty slow, but he does have some races on the go back that would make him competitive. He's not exactly a winning type, but I feel like this just might be the good spot for him second time here in Florida.
The rail horse First Homestead has speed, which I find appealing. Has to go 7 in this race, which is perhaps a little dicey. And then, really fast, what do you do with the 9 Harper Go Lucky, who, if you're concerned about the 7/8s for a few of these horses, maybe this is a spot where the slow and steady wins the race, where he can just kind of low gear it down and grind by everybody.
Yeah, he's run some good races at the distance. Unfortunately, you talk about not a winning type. He's definitely that. It's been a long time since he's seen the winner's circle, but distance is not something I have a question with.
All right, you're in the camp of Real Doozy. We'll talk about the 5th race field, a whole lot more after this quick break on GP Today. Hey, everybody, we are back. That shot live, in fact, at about 11:45 a.m. Eastern on this Friday, January the 22nd at the old GP by the Sea. Bright blue sky, a sunny day for thoroughbred racing, and that live shot, in fact, from a place everybody wants to get to, the Gulfstream Park Winners Circle. And for the 5th time tomorrow afternoon, we will crown the winner of the $3 million Pegasus Dirt, 3rd time for the Pegasus Turf. And this is just simply a weekend, Acacia, where it is the best of the best right here at Gulfstream.
Absolutely. Certainly a highlight on the calendar. Big races early in the year, 2 Grade 1s, very important races at that. And some very interesting races as far as betting does go, too. I think you can find value in both the dirt and the turf.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on. Speaking of value, we'll attack the 20% takeout Rainbow 6 on today's card. By the way, that carryover forthcoming in the Stronach 5, and we'll have more on that before we say goodbye and bring on Pete Aiello. But as far as looking at this Rainbow 6, a sequence that includes maybe a single for many in Arham a bit later on. I mean, what's your ticket looking like?
Well, I did not end up singling Arham. I kept it to $43.20, so it's still a kind of middle of the road price for this. But like I said, I like Real Doozy a bit in the opening leg, which is also the cash out of the early pick 5. We have a maiden 50, which is pretty competitive in the 6th race. I have a little bit of coverage, so I think the Georgina Baxter Firster, Our King Kong. Horse is not named Our King Kong unless he's got a little bit of ability. Looking looking forward to seeing that one. 2 deep in the 7th. That 8th race coming up a little bit later on. I've got 3 horses, and that 9th is definitely a highlight on the card with Arham. So impressive. Wanted to have a little bit more coverage there. Ready to Answer comes out of a very live race at Churchill, and I just didn't know what to do with Untitled. I just kept going back to him. He's been a little bit of a tricky horse, maybe not quite as good as he seemed to be early in his career. And we wrap up with 2 horses in the 10th.
You're all inside here, 1-2 to start. Real doozy. The speed clearly from that inside post. We don't see trainer Dave Fox, who we both have a lot of respect for. Dave, a terrific horseman and veteran trainer, doesn't claim all that often. Trying to just overall blueprint how this race might be run. You've got Real Doozy inside, and I would imagine, assuming the 3 Dance Till Dawn off that little bit of a layoff for Phil Serpy breaks okay, Louis will have her up in that first flight.
I would think so too. I don't think she's quite as fast as Real Doozy early, so that's my hope with Amisale Hiramiu, who rode this filly last time and is a very good gate rider. Just kind of puts her on the engine and tries to run away from the rest of the field, though I wouldn't be surprised if Louis is aggressive with Dance Till Dawn. And like you said, we don't see Dave Fox claiming many horses, and to be honest, the numbers are really poor over the last 5 years and just playing around with stats. But the biggest thing that encouraged me with this one is that they kind of keep the status quo. Comes back at the same level where she ran well last time and got a good figure for that 3rd place finish behind A Beautiful Day, who was much best in there.
And she's one of a number of horses in here with ever-changing makeups and variables, because right next door is, I think, the main story of the race, and that's my top pick and the likely favorite in the 2 Passion Plus, who endured a wide trip against a better field last time. And I think for $16K, I think she's just not only a good fit against this field, I think she's a good pickup for Safi as well. That almost seems like, you've got a bit of a safety net running for this claiming tag, which she was claimed for, by the way, about 40 days ago, because she's done things at a pretty high level here over the last couple of years. I like her as a horse.
Yeah, she stayed around that level, that same level for quite a while. I think she's consistent overall, and it was a better field. We'll see what a Butte, I believe, in the first race tomorrow against Tougher too. So that'll kind of be a little bit of a test as to how live that race was. But I do think it was a solid field she met.
And Generic Mark, who I've got highly rated, is another Verrazano in the race alongside the number 3 in this spot, and Dance Till Dawn going out for trainer Paul Capage, coming off his near 40% 2020 run. We move on. Race number 6 this afternoon with 44 on the clock, and we'll check out my late pick 5. And we've got a $27 play that I built around. I'm gonna go hook, line, and sinker for the big favorite in the 9th race in Arham, just off a fast debut where he ran as advertised. Yeah, I know he beat a professional maiden and Catch On Emotional, but I'd like to think Todd Pletcher's got another exciting prospect, although this one a 4-year-old, and again structured this $27 play around the race 9 bound Arham, who does look like he might be the box office star on today's program. And I'm pretty light to start, although I don't know how deep you might want to go in this opening leg, which is a 3-year-old $50,000 to $40,000 maiden claimer. I felt pretty comfortable, obviously picking and using, of course, the number 1 No Commission off a good try debut for Safi, beaten by a $6 winner in Bailey here a couple days before Christmas, and expecting Georgina Baxter's firster with Edgar riding the number 3 R King Kong, expecting that colt by the big beast to have some speed as well first time out.
This one's half to Seismic Jolt, a stakes winner. Good producer the mare has been so far. She was a good dirt sprinter herself by the big beast R King Kong. It's a cute name. Like I said, I think maybe the name might give a little bit of an inclination, so I'm looking forward to seeing this colt. In general, it's funny because the big beast himself was so big. A lot of his progeny are actually on the smaller side, so which is really funny, I think. But so I'm looking forward to seeing him in person. No Commission, I think, is absolutely live off that debut trip. I don't love that it was against State Bred 25 and now steps up to Open 50, but the speed is absolutely dangerous, and it does look like go time after that very fast work up at Palmettos.
And this field, although ostensibly stepping up, you don't know. This field could be pretty much on par with that group of Florida breds. Maybe not. Might be tougher, assuming Georgina's horse is horses live, and I'm not sure if I missed the 5-horse, Weight of Glory. I did notice, obviously, prepping for the show today, you've got Guadalupe Preciado, a rare claim for him in this part of the country with Louis riding. I wonder if that's the tip-off. They like that cult by gemologists.
That was kind of what I saw, too. He is also stepping up in class after running against 25 maidens on the turf and then 32 at Gulfstream Park West 2 starts back. But another one that has a little bit of speed has actually run some okay races, and seeing Louis Saez take them out with blinkers on, I was a little bit intrigued.
All right, let's get on to the 7th here as we jumpstart the late pick 4 on this Friday card at about 3:40 Eastern. We're on the turf for race number 7, a $16,000 starter allowance, and I think there's 3 main contenders, the 3 you and I evidently put in the exact same order, 6, 5, 8 in this race. But even going chronologically, between the 5 High Noon rider for Safi, who beat a very good field, in fact, really deep field, and paid about $1,000, 2 back in the Claiming Crown Emerald, and just didn't fire last out in the 2-mile H. Allen Jerkins. But you've got him, the 6 Good Old Boy, who's just been in pretty good form and is turning back off a 1.5-mile race. And then you've also got the 8 Yamato, who I know you liked a lot last time, and your argument going into this 1.5-mile race, which we're about to bring up, was the fact that he was improving. You felt as though this was a gelding by Artie Schiller, who was just very much coming into his own. I wonder, though, as he turns back in distance, how he's going to fare against a field that I think, with just Safi and Maker's horse, I think is pretty deeper than this one that he's coming out of.
I very much agree. I respect Morning Stride, but I think the horses that Yamato is facing today are much tougher than him and what he was running against in this field. Also, my thought process into there was that I liked him getting more distance and going the 1.5 miles. And I realized they don't write races like that all that often. So sometimes you're just the victim of what's available in the condition book. And I don't know when the next marathon turf race that's not a stake will be coming up.
I was going to say the McKnight, but that's a grade 2.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of the point here with the horse that broke his maiden for 10,000. So he's obviously improving, but I liked him getting longer distances. The case with Good Old Boy and High Noon Rider, in that clearly they can handle going longer, they're cutting back a little bit, and I think that's a positive for them. The reason I gave the edge to Good Old Boy was that he just has more tactical speed. He's going to be in better position early on. High Noon Rider does like to come from pretty far off of it, and I just felt this really seemed to be a good spot for Good Old Boy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Maybe the 7 Midday Image, who's been really sharp of late for Louis Carvajal Jr. and beat a pretty salty field last time. He's got some early speed and perhaps will be running 1-2 or at least within arm's length of that horse early on. But you and I going with Maker over Safi with Marat Sankal's horse, Yamato in the 3rd spot in that 7th race. We'll cut back to 5 furlongs for Friday's 8th. We're on the turf for this, naturally, going 5/8 with an older filly and mare Florida bred allowance optional claimer. We're I guess in a little bit of a disagreement here. I see some varied colors up there. I looked down, I saw the Ravelli presence of the One Angel Sense, a barn that is very good and has burned me a few times, bringing very lengthy layoff type horses back to this meet, specifically sprinting on this Gulfstream Park turf course. Presence of a rod. I'm going to try to just blast off and redline this thing from the start with the number 1 Angel Sense. You're right next door, and a few of these horses, in fact, are coming out of the race. Your top pick, Double Medal, exits back on Christmas Eve.
The biggest thing with Angel Sense, just circling back to him, was that to her, excuse me, as filly, was that I just couldn't really find anything to convince me besides the Ravelli factor just in general. First time on the turf with 180-plus day layoff, the barn is 0 for 7 with only one of those hitting the board. There's not really much turf pedigree to speak of. I always say I don't mind Into Mischiefs on the turf, and the same goes for Golden Sense, as he's the son of Into Mischief, but he's not really been a great turf influence. On the bottom side, there really isn't much turf influence just overall with the dam and second dam. And even what she's produced. I realize sometimes synthetic and turf can transfer. I just kept really feeling suspicious of this filly, and she absolutely could just come out of here running today.
I'm hoping the speed
and
maybe
it really could be, but it just based on stats and based on everything that I normally use for handicapping, it just could not convince me. Maybe I should have put her fourth or just added her on there somewhere. But I just felt other horses had some stronger recent form and some proof that they want the turf or are good sprinting on the turf recently. Double Medal does check that box, running very well. Last time out, same kind of move as the Rain Man earlier on. The number 9, Thinkin' Cowtown, she's the class of the field, this 8-year-old who's taking a drop in class, and we know she's a turf sprinter.
No, she definitely is, and a former Claiming Crown winner. She was never as good, though, as she was throughout a span of races, like late in 2019. Clearly, 2020 was not her year. She didn't run all that often and didn't crack the exact in 5 starts. Is it a new ball game for her, just pairing up or third start off the layoff in for the 16? I'm not entirely ready to give up on the 9, Thinking Cowtown yet. And in general, I think overall the 7, just like the overall makeup with the 7, Miss Miami on paper, who's been pretty sharp of late, this seems like the kind of horse who's just a logical, obvious player when you slot in the fact now she's first-time maker.
And I had liked her last time out, and she ran fine, though she was beaten as the favorite, but Dealer's Girl very good that day. First off the claim for Mike Maker, she is a tried-and-true Florida turf sprinter.
All right, let's move on. We'll get on to the 9th race, our dirt finale, and this is the one I think a lot of us are looking forward to the most, this allowance optional claimer, just because of the presence of a late blooming, perhaps, Shadwell homebred by a Belmont and Champagne winner, and I think a Fountain of Youth winner in Union Rags. That horse's name is Arham, and here he is in again, a somewhat belated debut, about 2 weeks to go before his official 3-year-old season ended, but he proved the wait was worth it as he tracked outside as a massive favorite. And the race just came up so fast, Acacia, and it came up this fast going 6, not 6.5. So I'm excited to see what this guy can do this afternoon, returning for Todd and Louie.
I am as well. As the second dam, Spun Sugar, also trained by Todd. She was very, very good. Where the first family is not really done much, but you knew with the Shadwell homebred there had to be some blue bloodlines in there, and he seemed to me like he was a horse that was really still kind of putting things together, even a little bit studdish, but a big solid son of Union Rags, and I think one that has a very big future ahead of him, and just did that so easily, really wrapped up last time
that rhythm that he was in off the far turn was really really almost nice. Like transfixed watching his stride in that race.
No, I know he's a beautiful mover, and he really, though later developing, I think it really kind of pinpoints the patience that needs to be shown with some of these horses, and Todd's so great at that and debuting them at the right time. So clearly found the right spot for him in sprinting, coming back now to face a little bit tougher company, but if he runs like he did last time, then he's obviously the one to beat. Ready to Answer, though, was the one I was most intrigued by. That race he won at Churchill Downs was ahead of some very good horses. Fastly came back with an 82 Beyer speed figure. I think that's a pretty salty maiden field that he beat at Churchill.
And salty, I think, in one word, maybe sums up the recent form and just overall career of the 7, Why Are You Awesome, who just turned 10. 15-time winner who has been about as consistent as he's been in a very long time with trainer Marcio Navarro, has done it at a pretty high level just in terms of like those optional claiming races where a lot of those horses are like really like junkyard dog nasty, and he's done pretty well, and I think he's gonna run a big one this afternoon.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool comparison too, as he's the 10-year-old in the field really, this is start number 69 for him, and then you have Arham, who's just making his second career start. So kind of a cool comparison, but you've got to respect a horse like Why Are You Awesome.
Pretty stark in contrast, but a good 9th race, and we'll learn a bit more, obviously, about the Todd Pletcher-trained Arham. Let's wrap things up before we get into the Pegasus Eve lightning round with race number 10, and quite succinctly, I had a feeling we'd probably be in the same zip code here. Some of the bigger priced horses on paper look a little tough to make in this spot. And as I looked around, I said, I want the speed here. Mia Solo Mia. Give me this horse's speed over the recent claim for Marat Sankal. It's not so much the claim, I think, with your horse, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the 4 Winnipeg Wonder. I just think in hindsight, she probably just, you would like to think, really needed that race here 2 weeks ago.
I would certainly think so. Obviously, Ralph Nick's a tremendous trainer, had her, but in general, his horses are better second time off the bench and having a start under their belt. So off the layoff, now second time off the layoff and turning back in distance. And even before that extended layoff, she's never really been able to sustain her speed. So I'm hoping the turn back helps her as she settles a little bit more and maybe just is able to sustain that run with a little bit less ground.
All right, well, we'll move on to a whole new level of ground, and that is our lightning round. Again, very much focused in on Pegasus Day, and the fifth running of the Pegasus World Cup Dirt for $3 million will be our top order of finish. Maxed out fields, no vacancy signs on the starting gate for both the dirt and the turf as we go with the dozen in this 9-furlong race, led by a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner in Nick's Go, who's trying Acacia to become the second ever Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner to win the dirt, having joined, or at least having a chance to join, City of Light here a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. City of Light, how impressive was he as he came to win the Pegasus World Cup? And his trainer, Michael McCarthy, will be represented by Independence Hall this year, who was a late addition, but will get a chance under Flavian Pratt. We have Tax, who won his local prep here in the Harlan's Holiday so impressively. I think it's a very interesting race, top to bottom.
It certainly is. Now, the turf race is a spot where trainer Todd Pletcher is the main story going in. Not the only barn, in fact, in the turf, or dirt for that matter, running more than one horse, as Shug is also setting out a 1-2 punch. But Todd, in search of his first ever Pegasus trophy, seems to be in a very good spot.
He does. 3 horses in there. Shug McGahee with 2. Mike Maker with 2 as well. Let's not forget about him as he pulled the upset in last year's Pegasus turf with Zulu Alpha. He's represented by Aquaphobia and Cross Border this time around. But this one, I think, is where you can really find some prices. And while I do think Colonel Liam will be the favorite, I don't know if there's really that kind of one marquee horse in the Pegasus turf.
Definitely. He's probably got to improve a little bit to run with the more established horses. But I think if you're in his camp, you're hoping you get that because he is very much an unfinished product. No way, I don't think, has he hit his full potential or ceiling. And that was really the basis of our Twitter poll that we sent out yesterday, and appreciate over 250 of you that voted. I was just curious, essentially, of the three-headed Pletcher monster, who do you prefer? That was the question, and by a really wide margin. It wasn't even close. It was Colonel Liam.
Yeah, he seems to be kind of the buzz horse, too, as he obviously has a big pedigree, sold for $1.2 million as a 2-year-old. Second Dam's Wonder again, one of the top turf mares for time, certainly. And so looking forward to seeing what Colonel Liam does now stepping into deeper waters.
And a friendly reminder, we have to get the housekeeping reminders because it's important, and we appreciate everybody's support of Gulfstream and the racing circuit down here in this part of the country in South Florida. We do have advanced wagering up for grabs today on the entire Pegasus card, and what better horse to just kind of display that than Gunrunner a few years back.
Sensational performance, sensational career. Crowned Horse of the Year as well, and wrapped up his career in style with the Pegasus World Cup win. He really just was so dominant at that time, and was fun getting a chance to see a horse like him staying and training for the Pegasus.
Thrilled we got to see him in that race, and that was, again, his grand finale as a 5-year-old. I was talking to Eddie Gray downstairs in the press office a couple of days ago. Had they left him in training, and again, we're lucky we saw him for that one start in 2018, I don't know if there was an older horse or even 3-year-old in that crowd. Well, Justify was just essentially getting started on his career, but I can just envision Gunrunner having run the table. He was that good as a 4-year-old and beyond.
He really was the perfect example of a horse that just kept getting better as he got older. As a 4- and 5-year-old, I think we really saw his best performances yet. And I remember interviewing Steve Asmussen, and he said, Gunrunner just does everything better than we do.
All right, $750,000, our next order of business there in terms of the big time, big money, big day guaranteed pools, my friend, in both the late 5 and late 4 tomorrow.
That's right. Make sure you get in for that advanced wagering. Don't miss out on those big pools for those sequences later on, of course, capped by the Pegasus World Cup Turf and Dirt, which will go as races 11 and 12.
Now, the McKnight, one of the 7 graded stakes here tomorrow afternoon. You've got the 2 Pegasus races, naturally, but 5 other supporting graded stakes on the program. And that's a spot where we've got a $2 million plus earner in Sadler's Joy coming back as an 8-year-old. Here he is just a few days ago at Palm Meadows. he has been ageless, and it's funny, Acacia, I look down, he feels in my mind like he's older than an 8-year-old.
I know. Feels like he's just been around forever. He's just a mainstay in these marathon distance races on the turf. How can you not love a horse like this? I was looking down at his past performances. I remember when he ran second in the McKnight as a 4 or 5-year-old, newly turned 5-year-old maybe, years ago. 4-year-old definitely. It was 2017 that he made his first graded stakes appearance running second in the McKnight.
Best of luck to him and Tom Albertrani, who's done a good job just keeping him together and at a very, very high level over the last few seasons. We're pumped to see Sadler's Joy here tomorrow afternoon in the undercard McKnight. And this, I got to tell you, our next off-the-track thoroughbred nugget and topic. When I read the press release yesterday, it brought a smile to my face. This is one of the best things I've read all week with the mounted police horses that are retired race horses being here tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing 3 OTTBs working tomorrow, including our friend Tiz Robert Charles, who raced here, was adopted from Florida Track and became a member of the police force here in Davie. We've seen him at the track several times, so keep your eyes out if you're on track tomorrow. For the mounted police, they'll also be presenting the colors here too, and just love seeing ex-race horses go on to find their new careers, and obviously such important work as being part of the police force.
It's so great, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing them on the track prior to the national anthem tomorrow afternoon. Today, though, what's going on today? 10 races locally, and we have the closing honors in today's Stronach 5 with that big carryover.
We do $97,000 plus in the carryover, low takeout of 12%. You've got all the Stronach tracks in play. Starts just before 4 p.m., so don't miss out.
All right, now I did the rundown here for the lightning round. What is this Jason thing? Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that.
Well, we wanted to wish you all the best. Now, tomorrow is going to be a very busy day with the Pegasus World Cup, and we're very sad to see you go. It will be Jason's final day with us yesterday. And from the Gulfstream Park media office, we know what a fan you are of the Wiggles. And we had to wish you all the best, Jason. You will be missed.
I appreciate that. It's been just an honor working for the Stronach Group and with this outstanding team. Dave Joseph as my boss, and Bill Badgett, and you and Ronnie and Pete. I could go on and on and on. The guys upstairs in Solido TV, just a terrific crew behind the scenes that make the show go on every day. So it's been fun, looking to end on a very high note. And I think that's a perfect segue, in fact, to this date in racing history. 26 years ago today, it is Holy Bull. It is 4-year-old debut right here at Gulfstream, taking the Olympic handicap. We've got Tom Durkin standing by, the great Holy Bull, before we turn it over to track announcer Pete Aiello for the scratches and changes.
Mike Smith handwriting Holy Bull. Bird on the wire right at his flank, but he can't get to him yet. Smith goes to work on the champ, and the champ is responding. Holy Bull returns to the races with a victory here in 1995. He won by 2. Point of entry's taking the lead. Point of entry wins.
Plaku Parfait is finishing hard along the inside. Plaku Parfait takes out the Derby.